I like it.
Yes.
I like it. Oh, is it live up everywhere already? That was quick. Hold on.
Well,
hey everybody. If we are live, we are live. I just have to double check and make sure that it's posted everywhere. I just hit the live button. So it should be go on Facebook. I'm sorry. I'm still getting used to this program a little bit. Yeah. Okay, cool. It's good. All right. We're on Facebook. Looks like we're on YouTube. All right. Yeah, we're live. Cool. We're live, everybody. Hey, everybody. Welcome again to another exciting news roundup from the Crowdsourced Politics podcast crew. I'm your host and moderator, Cypher. Today, I am glad to be joined again by Universal Discourse. Universal Discourse, how are you doing? Say hi to the fans. I currently have you on mute. All right, there we go. We're good.
Hello, fans. How are you doing? We're doing all the stuff that's bothering us for the whole week, so it's always good to be here.
Yeah, we're so glad that Universal Discourse is making this making a regular appearance on our show.
Yeah.
It is a pleasure for her to be here. We are joined again by the ever lovable Art Black. Art, how are you doing today?
Fantastic. And all the stuff that's bothering us this week, we're going to bother you with it. So,
damn right. And joining us again and a constant regular, one of the founders of the podcast is Mateo, who is going under name of Hoodie Allen because he's funny as fuck. Mateo, how's it going, man? You nothing came out of your mic.
Oh, we should have tested that.
Also muted Alan.
He's been canceled.
Multiple times.
Bound to happen.
Well, yeah, it happens.
It happens. So on the news roundup today, we'll be going over a slew of topics, which are in the descriptions. Essentially, we're going to go over the kind of what the news it was for the past week. Things like Sinema downvoting the parliamentarian, getting over the $15 minimum wage, and the COVID bill, and a lot of other stuff. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started in this a little bit. Art, before we were live, we were just, you and I and others were discussing a little bit about a certain Twitter handle that came to be known as a paid shill. What was that about?
So, long story short, in the glory days of the resistance, where the evil warlord Trump was held at bay by the brave vanguard on Twitter, one of the guys out there was named, or still is, Brooklyn Dad Defiant, and he's generally widely disliked among left Twitters, being he's a kind of centrist Democrat, pro guy who will basically be like, if you speak up on behalf of Bernie, like odds are like you're some kind of Russian plant. Like he just and a guy obviously hates Trump, obviously hates Bernie. He's just a hardcore party man. And we were just joking earlier about branding and having nice graphics and all that. And as it turns out, over the last couple of days, it's been revealed that he's actually taken about some tens of thousands, $60,000-ish dollars from various Democrat groups or donors or whatnot. He's basically the literal paid shill he was accusing other people of being. Turns out he was actually taking cash. So, but people have been joking about this, is that we should have been suspicious when his graphics and branding game stepped up. And you look back over a year ago versus like a couple months ago and all that, and man, like a lot of his stuff's pretty slick now. So it's professionally produced and all that. And it's like, that's, now that you mention it, like just random people on Twitter tend not to invest that much in their own personal branding and graphics. But this guy actually had a good market angle he was working. So, the free market at work. But it's just funny that people that would casually suggest that other people are paid agents, turns out he was taking money from big DNC groups.
Well, how else are you going to be tweeting 24/7? Everybody else has got that kind of time. Oh wait, well, I do.
Not only that, but George Soros talks a good game, but he doesn't really dole it out the way that people think he does. So, no. Yeah.
But it's funny that that we have evidence of this from Democrats, but we've known that this was a thing for right-leaning groups for a long time now. We have examples of it from PragerU and the Turning Points USA, where these people are just paid to share their opinions, and it goes all the way back to like the 90s with the increase in the think tanks. So I don't know. Is this the left catching up, or what's going on?
Well, I think that you got guys like Louder with Crowder, Steven Crowder, the Prager used all that, but like everybody basically, the Federalists, like everybody basically knows they're just like these dark money fronts. Like it's not really, there's no sense that they're just random folks on the internet who are just gunslingers just doing whatever they want. Like it's interesting to have people who appear to be just these, celebrities in the wild who just happen to have these personas. That's a little bit different than what the right does. Like with the right, it's kind of like, they fund these institutions. And even if you don't know who's funding it, you know that they're not coming out of nowhere. Like Ben Shapiro, you don't know who's funding Ben Shapiro, but you know that he's getting well funded. So it's that sort of thing where like it's different. Like there's no sense that these randos on Twitter are actually paid until you realize, oh wow, like suddenly it comes out that he's taking a lot of money. So that's just it's interesting.
Universal Discourse, Mateo, what are your guys' thoughts on this?
I know Brooklyn Dad Defiant.
So, like RRL, or
Yeah, so I can,
Oh, okay.
he wanted to be more involved, and he's a great mouthpiece for something. And I think that after 4 years, actually 5 years since he started, that he probably got himself into a position where he could afford to do it as a life career choice, basically. So,
I mean, you can't really.
But I know his situation and family too. So, he was tireless, and I guess something paid off for him. Basically, he has a tremendous amount of influence.
I mean, yeah, I had to look him up.
He does occasionally says, as we say, stupid shit on the mic every now and then. He's like, oh, that, we're like, Dad did that. And he went, yeah, I know. He'll get himself sick. He'll work himself up sick. So, I mean, if they hire him in some way, if you want to put it that way, to do what he's done with nothing and no reward and no support and whatever for years, and that finally landed him something like a gig, more power to him. It's not like he changed his story.
Exactly. It's only grifting if you don't believe what you're saying.
It's
like
propaganda.
Seriously. Well,
it's
yeah,
exactly what
brand
that is.
ambassadors.
Yeah, but I mean, if you're doing if you're just getting paid for what you already believe and what we're already saying, and you didn't change your story, I have no problem with that. It's just funny. It's the progression that's funny, I guess.
It's like Instagram models.
I
Used
think
to have to
after
pay for their Gucci, but now they just get it for
Right.
free as long as they wear it on Instagram.
But they still love
Well,
Gucci.
I think it does more than that. He does a lot more than that, though. I mean, it does more than
He
just.
does a lot more than
tweet.
Gucci.
Yeah, he does a lot more than Gucci. Yeah, but yeah, he does a lot more than that. But yeah, he's naturally good at what he does, and at least he has a job now.
True.
Yeah, true. Like I can't really knock anybody that does this kind of work, unless they're being hypocritical about it. And, if they're trying to like call out other people, and when they're doing it, that's the only kind of time I would have a problem with it. But let's be real, no one really cares about hypocrisy. So
I would chill anything for enough money.
yeah,
I would
right?
any political view. If you want it, if you name the right price, I'll do it. I'll do it
Speaking of which,
passionately.
pay us.
Yeah. Oh no. I don't know. I know what he wants to accomplish, and I hope he succeeds for what he's trying to do. But it's probably just going to be, if you try to make that a job, there's going to be oversights, regulations, platform and agenda that may stop him from doing what he actually does. So I don't know how long that's going to really work for him. So,
Okay.
but
And to be totally fair, a lot of the criticism is coming from, let's say, elements of the left that basically view anybody that's that's making money is suspicious. Like
So all of us streamers are sus as hell. Is that what they're saying?
Well,
Every
no.
one of
See,
us.
if you're
Destiny,
a streamer
Destiny
and
is a
you're in a
grifter.
if
Is
you're
that
a
it?
streamer and
Is
you're
that
in a
what we're saying?
co-op,
No,
you're
I want
fine.
you to make them say that's what they're saying
Right. Yeah.
right now on stream live. Puh.
Right.
Yes, we're
that's
all
all I'm saying is
grifters.
that there's a
We
bit
are
of
all
a,
grifters.
yeah.
I'm trying.
There's that element of people who just like once you've made any money, like or you have money or you have anything, that it's like I don't know, like it seems like you're participating in the system and yet you speak against it. You know, suspicious, curious.
No, here's the thing: you can't bitch about the system while you're benefiting from it.
Well, true, but you can always want to reform something you're trapped in.
I mean, that's
their take. Is what you meant.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
but I'm just saying it's like the people who are like you dislike capitalism and yet you participate in it and have a job. Curious. Like, well, yeah. I mean,
That usually refers more to the luxuries, not the necessities.
well, yeah. I'm just saying there are elements that take it to the extreme. Who just like once somebody has any kind of money or any kind of anything, that it's like, no, we can't trust you. You act like a class trader, but you're just propagating your own class interests or kind of a
You
thing.
get your oil changed on time.
You use oil.
you use oil.
You use oil at all, yeah.
I guess that belongs to the left community. I would say.
Yeah, like I said, elements.
But they're
It's
also suspicious about anyone with a not-for-profit, like a college, a charter group, or non-profit, or something like that.
sure.
Damn it.
And they immediately think, yeah.
Or CSP.
Well,
Speaking of nonprofits, we actually are one.
and I have a not-for-profit. We're the Professionals Without Borders. So we take what we have out of our own pockets to go help somebody who can't do it for themselves. And yeah, I was told, oh, well, you can't advertise your not-for-profit up there. It's suspicious. It's sus. I was like, of what exactly?
All right.
Anyway.
Yeah, I was about to say that sounds perfectly fine to me.
Yeah. You're helping people. What's sus about that? I mean,
Well, then I realized who it was coming from. They told me that before I realized what communities that was coming from, and I was just like, why don't you stay over there and clean up your own backyard before you come over here worrying about mine? We're not even neighbors, right? Horrible.
Mhm.
So that's well, it happened. I'm just saying.
True.
That's my anecdotal Andy thing. There we go.
well, speaking of traders and people that have evolved in the wrong direction, what about what's going on with Sinema? The infamous thumbs down vote against overturning the parliamentarians' ruling that $15 minimum wage isn't related to the budget. This has been blowing up all over leftist Twitter and the leftist verse in general. People calling her a sellout because in 2014 she was for an increase in the minimum wage and now she appears to be against it. What's her thoughts about this?
Who wants to go first?
I want to hear Mateo's thoughts.
Well, it's not as black and white as everyone's saying it is. She's
Right.
she's been vocal about this. She said, let's do it as like, what is this? The binding resolution. She's saying, don't put it in here. Let's put it to a debate on its own, and then we'll vote for it. She wasn't saying I'm against $15 an hour minimum wage. She was saying, let's do this the right way. And she probably wanted to be like, fuck you, haha. Because I'm sure there are a ton of lefties out there who are probably like, no, I don't know why you just hate the poor so much. And she's like, no, let's just vote on this later. And they're like, oh, the poor, you hate them. Oh my God, the poor, it's black or white. It's only 15 an hour right now, or it's never. Like, it's stupid. I'm pretty sure she's for $15 an hour minimum wage. And she's against putting it in the binding resolution. And it's that simple. But meanwhile, everyone has to make it like this whole good versus evil thing, like everything in politics. And so here we are with probably conspiracy theories brewing, or not conspiracy theories, just like
Uncharitable,
very cynical stories about her becoming like a right winger. Like, she's going to work on Fox News with Tulsi Gabbard. Like, it's just, throw her in the bin with Tulsi Gabbard too. Like, it's just
True.
one after another, just
True.
without even thinking. But yeah, she's probably going to vote for $15 an hour minimum wage when it comes up in a way that she thinks is appropriate. She thinks this is inappropriate, so she was like, fuck you.
The only problem I have with this is that the Democrats need to reform the filibuster, and I am not entirely sure if they will be able to. Because if they are not able to reform the filibuster, if they can't get the votes amongst themselves to reform the filibuster, it's not going to come up to a vote because of the way the filibuster currently functions. I think that's what a lot of the left-leaning people concerns are with this. It's that this was the one and only chance to get this through, since Democrats aren't going to get rid of the filibuster. So yeah.
Well,
Do you want to
our
respond to that?
institutions, there you go. My institutions, enjoy it. That's what you fucking wanted, right?
I mean, that's what liberals tended to want, but not necessarily leftist. Art, you wanted to break in? Go ahead, man.
Well, I was going to ask Universal, did you want to jump in?
Sure, but I'll wait.
Okay, so I'll just throw this out here real quick. Sinema grew up poor. At one point, her family was living in a abandoned gas station for 3 years while they were homeless. So I don't think that she's unsympathetic to the poor per se. Like, I don't think that's where she's coming from. And I think that, in the grand scheme of things, she'll be and has been and will be a reliable vote for that sort of thing. I think the problem is that you have a procedural argument that, in a sense, could be argued as true. You could say, hey, we should split this up from this and vote on this independently and, not, crowd it with this other bill, which, is an argument. But it's not really like how anything gets done. Like, we tend to bundle things up all the time. So this idea that, we just need to follow procedure. I mean, that's a procedure. I mean, certainly that's a way of doing things, but it's not, it's not the way, and it's not even maybe the primary way. So I think that they may have strategically decided that in this instance, they were going to cede and all that. But, in the mapping of it, as far as like how you want to structure it, okay, you could make that argument in isolation. But the problem is that there wasn't in isolation at all. Like, you actually had a lot of intense focus on this right now, and even a symbolic vote in favor of something that wasn't going to happen. At this point, it really is a symbolism. I mean, if it's not going to happen, it's not going to happen. So now it's just a question of what is it going to look like. So in that, she kind of decided to opt for an optics play rather than a anything that would matter. Like, the vote was actually not going to go anywhere. So did she intend to make it this bad or this kind of reaction? Probably not to this extent. It seems like she wanted to make a bit of a symbol. I mean, any of the 8 that voted against it for procedural reasons, we're basically doing it to say that, hey, we're these reasonable moderate Dems, and we're doing it for, reasonable moderate for, reasons. And, if you're from purple areas or whatever, they can cash that in later and, use that argument that, we're not beholden to Biden and the radical left. Like, we vote our own mind, kind of a thing. Okay. I mean, if you need to play that, you need to play that. That's fine. Like, I don't have anything against that. But the problem is that the little bit of the dance with it, it just, that was the problem, is that it came across as, especially with the left, the symbolism often is the substance. So even with symbolic votes, like, they kind of expect you to show up. And if you give them this kind of imagery that looks like, openly disdainful or whatever, when people who are very focused on symbolism are given that kind of symbol, that's just either an intentional, a burn where you're just trying to like get street cred with the right, or it was just a dumb mistake. So I'm not sure if it was just something that she didn't realize would be that bad. Like, I think it probably went further than she meant it to, but I think that in a sense, she was still trying to make a statement. She was still trying to say that, hey, I'm not part of the radical left. Like, I'm a centrist you can trust, and I'll be moderate and but I think that it was probably a bit of a flourish. You don't need to do a Fortnite victory dance, at the end, like, especially with that many eyes on you. Like, it's just, it's all you're going to do is just burn people that, you probably don't want to burn because they're not going to forget. And especially the way Arizona is trending, it's basically going to be a blue state. So, trying to keep that centrist street cred is, maybe not as valuable as, having a vanguard on the left that is going to show up for you. So I don't know. I mean, she knows her state better, and she seems to be a really good politician overall.
Yeah, unlike a lot. Go ahead.
Sorry.
No,
I wouldn't be surprised if there's conversations that we don't know about where people basically just insinuate she's a horrible person. And that's where the whole dip thing came from. Like, you see how people get when it comes to this thing. How many people have we seen? People that we respect, like, not the uneducated lefties, like the pretty people we would call regular people or something, who are just like, oh, she, said fuck you to the poor people, this and that.
Right.
I'm sure she got some of that behind the scenes from her fellow senators too. So it's probably more a statement to them than it was to the rest of America, even though, of course, it's public. So
yeah,
it spread far and wide. But I would bet it's a COVID bill. All right. Putting minimum wage in a COVID bill makes it easy to say I'm not for this, especially if you're from Arizona. I mean, even if you're a Dem from Arizona, you kind of, the pressure's there to do it. And it's also reasonable. I mean, don't get me wrong. We probably could take a 15 minimum wage. Maybe some states before others, or obviously some states before others. But if you're going to put it in the COVID bill at the same time, it's just easy to go after. And if it's just a completely like, I don't know. I think it'll be a lot easier to pass. Like in 2013 and 2017, they did they create some sort of procedural rule where you basically the filibuster is moot. They called it the nuclear option. They could do that if they really want to. And for minimum wage, it's probably not a bad idea if it can't get done in the Senate.
I can kind of agree with that. I just don't know if we want to keep
you don't care.
Society.
No, get out of here.
No, what I'm saying, we as a society, I don't know if we want to see the filibuster chipped away like that. I don't know if it would be better.
People celebrating it 2013. Well,
I don't know if it's better to chip away at it than just get rid of it, or just wholesale change it.
At this point, I feel like everyone should just take turns. It's gotten to that point where it's just like the precedent's there for everybody to do it. Just chop away at it. It's already compromised. Like,
yeah,
the momentum has been started. It's a shame, but it's really where we're at. Like, why are you going to stop now? The Republicans did it, or the Democrats did it first. The Republicans did it in 2017. I mean, why stop? Unless, I guess now you can call it even, Harry Reid and McConnell. But still, I mean, I would consider minimum wage kind of important anyway. Important enough.
Yeah, no, I guess that's a fair statement. Universal Discord, what's your opinion on this?
Yeah, I kind of didn't get any of that at all out of this. So I think it's because I'm literal. So what Sinema did was say straight up that the minimum wage issue should not be attached to the COVID aid relief bill.
Yeah,
and
she wants
strategically, that's a good move, because look what happened last year. So any time you try to attack that bill do an addendum like that, the other senators and Republicans, or whoever, they're not even Republicans anymore, just whoever was for Trump and against Biden, is just gonna protest. And they protested adding this on to the COVID aid relief, because they said the COVID aid relief needs to be its own thing and not encumbered. And so she stated officially that if it wasn't critical to the COVID aid relief, or for COVID aid relief, then she wasn't going to endorse having it on the bill. And that's what she said, and that's what she did. Now, the Bernie's side forced a vote on the bill after it was stripped anyway. So it's going to be a debate on the thing. It's hard to say whether that debate's going to be a good thing. Does that give this issue a better chance of succeeding or not? Is going to be the question. If it's determined to have a federal $15 minimum wage, you're going to want that thing to succeed. If that debate is lost, it's tanked. So it's kind of like they pushed it into like giving it an ultimatum. Okay, that's it, last chance. type thing. And it's leaning toward where, well, let's have a bipartisanship, quote, negotiation. No, we're not going to negotiate this. You have a process. Stick to the process. And it comes down to the news today keeps coming down for me to, abolish bipartisanship at this point. Screw it. It's not a football game. It's just yet another issue caught in between what's clearly been a Trump-supportive faction of nationalists who keep gaining wealth and power daily, obstructing and colluding, and it's going to be Obama all over again, every single thing. All right, that's exactly what's happening. You really think they just stopped when Trump left? No, they've been practicing this for, decades.
I don't know. Biden's not black.
Yeah. Doesn't matter.
That was a big one. Biden's not black.
Maybe doesn't
not
matter.
Happen this time.
Oh, maybe they're going to be a little less nasty.
I'm kidding.
Yeah. No.
They're not
She's
going
like trying to be nice to me. She's like, well, okay, maybe they'll be a little nicer.
little less nasty about it.
She's trying to be nice.
But
I appreciate
it's
it.
hard to tell what Sinema's doing because I know the representatives in Arizona. I came up here where I'm at from Arizona, and I was part of the commission to vet the candidates. So, if you're trying to understand Sinema, you're going to have to look at her other policies and where she was even before she came to senator.
Right.
You're going to have to look at that. But kind of, do we really need to? It's going to be the proof is in the pudding. It's what she does. And if you're really opposed to her platform, can anybody even do anything about that? Arizona itself, which has fought tooth and nail for decades and decades to get it blue, would have to stand up and do something if she's sort of a traitor, as you call her. It looks on the surface like a strategic move. You can sit there and only hope that she's simply being strategic because she's trying to clear the floor, because the COVID aid package right now is more important than mostly anything.
Sure.
The minimum wage raising would be the first step toward socioeconomic improvement, although at this point $15 an hour, I'm like, God, that's good, but then what are you going to do about the millions of people who are out of a job? Anyway, so it looks strategic. And it looks strategic because the Senate immediately threw a protest for the second time.
Right.
Which is how you ended up with $600 in December, which you couldn't pay your rent with. Looks to be like she was just like, no.
Yeah, and also considering the state she's from, she's not exactly AOC in New York City, so even she's almost got to put on a little show, like almost a nod and a wink to, like, let's not call them righties, but in Arizona, the Overton window is a little more to the right, so she's still got to play her field.
She runs the field she plays.
Yeah, like
alone.
I'm sure
sure
the debate is not even that necessary, but she wants to say certain things before passing 15 an hour because she doesn't want Republicans just eating into her for that in Arizona.
Yeah, I think that's a very good point as well with this whole thing. To go back to Universal Discourse comment about the whole bipartisanship angle of it, I'm not sure if we're in a state where bipartisanship is necessarily going to happen. There might be ones and twos that you could pull off, and that comes to another topic that I think we should cover, which is the COVID relief bill has passed the House. So it's on its way. It's either on its way or while we've streamed or before we start streaming on Biden's desk for signature. The increase to the child tax credit. The increase of the child tax credit is the first time it's happened since, I believe, 2009. It's increasing it from a maximum of $2,000 to a maximum of $3,600, so almost doubling it. For children that are 6 and under, it's $3,600. For children between 6 and 17, it's up $3,000, and then for 17 through, I think it's 24 if full-time college student. There's some weird math going on in there, but it's a little bit lower, but still some money. That is going to cut childhood poverty immensely. Estimates put it around 40% this year, that the amount of children in poverty will go down by 40 to 50% from just having this increase to the child tax credit. So what are your guys' thoughts about the child tax credit? Do you think Democrats could possibly pull some Republican support for a standalone bill to make this permanent? What are your guys' thoughts?
Yeah, good stuff. Like that's like the one tax credit that really affects like poor families the most. It's a really good one. It's a no-brainer. And you said it hasn't increased since what, 2009?
I think it's 2009. I'll look it up
for an inflation or anything.
Yeah, I don't think it's been adjusted.
Yeah, so definitely change it up a little bit. It's been a while.
And they also on the stimulus check as well. They changed it to where adult dependents can receive a stimulus check independently now.
That too.
Oh wow, I didn't know that.
So
yeah,
a lot of the things in this bill, like people are like, oh, Biden said 2000. Yes, he said 2000, and Art brought this up. So
he said both.
It was.
It should have. That's really good.
It did hedge his bets fairly well, but I mean, optically, it's really stupid to be like 2,000 checks go out immediately. I'm like, whoa, never mind, 1,400.
Yeah. Well,
like,
that's because Trump was saying 2,000, and the Democrats can't be less compassionate. So it's like, yeah, 2,000, yeah. What he's saying, and then when it comes out, it's like the 2,000 top up, everyone. Or just remember, I said 2,000 top up a month ago. That's what I meant this whole time.
Yeah, but
Hold on, Art, you're muted.
Oh, I'm muted. Yeah, sorry.
Are you familiar with the? It's a logical fallacy. It's called the kettle logic of dreams.
No.
And it's basically like this Freudian thing where, like, imagine somebody loans a kettle to somebody and it gets returned and it's damaged, and the guy complains to the person that he loaned it to, and the person that he loans it to uses these different arguments. One is that, I never borrowed the kettle. The kettle was damaged when you gave it to me. Or or there's something else. So basically, like these range of excuses, or I didn't damage the kettle, I didn't see anything happen. Like I don't know anything about it, and I think you're lying. Like or the kettle is fine; it's not damaged at all. So basically, the argument there is from a legal sense, it doesn't matter what argument is correct because any one of them will get you off the hook, even though they're all logically inconsistent. Like you can make every argument you want, but you'll look like an idiot. But in terms of you being legally liable, only one of them needs to turn out to be true for you to be off the hook. So, like, this is like the inverse of that, where he's just like, if you use these multiple excuses, any one of them that's wrong, you'll be liable for. So even though in one sense he was right, that's not the sense that people are going to look at. They're going to look at the sense that he was wrong. And he kind of brought that on himself by using different versions of this argument. There are instances where he very clearly said, if you vote for Warnock and Ossoff, $2,000 checks will go out, like in very unambiguous language. So, but in other cases, he did say that, it'll be $2,000 total with the 600 plus 14. There's different versions of it, but it's just funny because it's like the inverse of this logical fallacy that he kind of walked himself into. So that's one point. This other point I just want to throw out there really quick is that we're talking about like bipartisanship right now, as far as like, coming up with these deals. Like Lisa Murkowski got these amendments into the bill and then she didn't even vote for it. So when you get down to it, you have a system right now where bipartisanship doesn't mean Republicans and Democrats, because it could pass with all Democrats. Bipartisanship means the Democratic Party and Joe Manchin. Like whatever it takes for you to get those two elements together, that's the government right now, because the Republicans are going to 100% vote against it, even if they get what they want. Like Lisa Murkowski got everything she wanted. That she said, if you give me this, I'll vote for it. And then she didn't vote.
That's what happened under Obama, too.
Well, true.
Oftentimes.
So the thing is like, you're dealing with people who, basically can't be trusted, even if you negotiate with them and give them what they want. Like, they don't actually want, they don't have demands. Like, they're not people that want to be bargained with at all. Whereas Manchin at least can be negotiated with. He's often like that, too. Like, sometimes he doesn't want anything. He just wants to say no. But sometimes he can be, bought, and in those times it's wise to buy him. But I mean, gosh, the streets of West Virginia should be paved in gold. Like, for the amount of leverage he's got right now, it's kind of remarkable how stupid the people that support him are when you get down to it, for how much he could be looting the government for. Like, he basically controls
Pork.
What?
I said pork.
Right. The amount of pork, like, if these guys were, I don't know, like, I don't know. Maybe they're just not like lawful evil enough to go where my mind would go with this. But like, the amount of leverage that Manchin has, like, yeah, you could say no, but like, rather than just saying no, say, well, like, let me tell you what yes is going to cost you. Like, that he doesn't go there. I mean, West Virginia should look like those images of the future with like the flying cars and the glass buildings and lawns mowed everywhere. Like, it's insane how much he could be absolutely looting the government for, because they could get the whole store. I mean, the sky's the limit. There's nothing that's stopping them right now. The Republicans vote 100% against them, and it means nothing. Like, they simply can't stop them. So why? I mean, honestly, I guess I don't know if it's stupidity or he just knows something I don't or what, but like, I fundamentally don't get it. Like,
He
but
just cashed in on Neera Tanden so far.
yeah, that's it. That's like, you get it's like, the comics with like the genie in the lamp, and you get like the idiot wishes. Like, I don't know. Like, I just don't understand, like, when you can have that kind of power.
I think he's holding out for infrastructure. I really do. I think infrastructure is his.
I'd be happy for.
Yeah, that'd be great.
That's
let's
his
do some of
baby
that.
boy. He wants
Bridges,
us
please.
to do bridges and
let's
all these other things.
Pave West Virginia, like, pave it all. That's fine.
Yeah, just a giant parking lot.
Okay, like, whatever you want, man. Like, seriously, like, just ask for something. Like, it's so infuriating.
He's like that one dude who's like actually principled and it annoys you. He's like, why
The
is
one
this
guy
getting anything out of this? You just go to work every day, like
Right.
driving a Honda Civic from 1992.
Right.
instead of Mr. Smith goes to Washington, it's Joe Manchin goes to Washington.
Yeah, I just
filibustering all the progressive and far righty stuff. It's like, what? Come on, guys. This is normal, right?
And the problem is, a lot of these guys, like, they actually just don't understand things. Like, they understand how government works because they're part of it, but they don't understand how things outside of it really work. So a lot of these guys legitimately just have dumb ideas about like economics or technology. I mean, gosh, like, they'd be, lucky to program their own, like a VCR. I don't know. Like, that's probably where they capped out, like 1998. Like, it's terrifying, the level of ignorance these guys have, and they're just kind of like, going by their gut, plus like what their pollsters are telling them, maybe what some of the lobbyists are throwing at them over dinner. Like, they're just kind of putting it together and like, oh, and then I got fuck McConnell. He'll bitch at me if I do this or that, and that's it. So, like, it's terrifying.
So what I'm hearing is that no, we can't get Romney to vote for a standalone bill to increase the child tax credit permanently into a monthly stipend UBI for kids. And what I'm also hearing is that we need to bribe Frank Luntz in order to make Republicans do what we want.
Mm-hmm. They're ending that
don't
too,
want
though.
to pay people to have kids, to tell you the truth. Tell them, be like, we're not having enough. I mean, you can't say we're not having enough white kids. I don't want to stereotype them like that because that's just absurd. But like, you bring the whole like, the whole postcard from the 50s thing. It's like this way of life is changing, guys. But if you have babies, I don't know, maybe they just see it going in the opposite direction.
It's weird because you have this like there is an element of not all the GOP, maybe not even majority, but there's that certain element that does worry about not enough white babies. There's an element that's probably, as far as your functional leadership, a lot more of them is worried about the idea of ever doing anything that could economically help the poor. So like you have these wealthy interests that are paying a lot of these guys, as far as their, their donors. Like their donors are rich. Like they don't want the government to function as something that makes the poor, that gives them money because that means more taxes for them. Like
if we give the poor money, well, how will we control them?
Well, yeah. I mean, how you control them, but then also who's going to pay for that eventually turns into, well, the rich will, and the rich don't want that. The rich are paying the GOP to avoid that, and the Democrats. So it's fundamentally a problem that, you can't, within the GOP itself, there is competing forces that, have found, the reason to work together because of the existential threat of Mr. Potato Head and Dr. Seuss and other cancel culture issues. But at a certain point, like the fact that, hey, we also are out of money and we can't have kids and people can't buy houses or, afford consumer products because there's no spending money out there because the minimum wage is, functionally nothing. Like it's just, you have all these competing forces that are just, increasingly coming to a head within the GOP. And as the years go by, it's going to get worse and worse.
Oof. Well, Jesus.
So there's that.
Yeah. I am looking at
what happened with
go
Dr.
ahead.
Seuss anyway? I didn't.
You want to talk about that?
check. I just don't know what happened with that one.
No,
I know the potato head and the bunny one.
Okay.
But
The
So-
Dr.
not
Seuss
Dr. Seuss.
estate.
I know it got someone stopped.
Go ahead,
selling them or
Universal.
something. I don't know.
The Dr. Seuss estate themselves responded to somebody pointing out what very obsolete
Something about racism, right?
stereotypes and depictions, semiotics, in certain books that were just they're very obsolete.
Was it like Mickey Mouse,
So-
which is kind of like you could almost see the old
It was a bit
racist
worse.
cartoons in it, or okay, because
So-
I'm not
so
familiar
with-
those books.
With Dr.
Yeah, so
Seuss, there was some depictions of black people that were basically like these amorphous, just like black figures with giant red lips. That was what part of the cartoon. Then he drew a Chinese person, called him a Chinaman, and had the
That'll
skin
do it.
tone be yellow.
That'll
And
do it.
there was another one where it's like if I ran a zoo, then I would put these people that aren't white in the zoo because we don't see them very often. So these were like 6 or so books that
Wasn't he like a huge anti-war guy? Do you think that I don't know.
he actually did
He had some
propaganda for the United States against
That's what it was.
Germans and Japanese people.
Yeah, wasn't Horton like on a pro like
Yeah.
GOP or pro war poster? You could still find it.
Yeah, you can still find the stuff. So, but this was the estate. I don't think
That's
anybody
funny.
even
Yeah,
pointed
the
it out.
estate
Really,
did it.
yeah.
Well, I mean,
this
if
was
it's
done
safe,
last
then
year.
it's really not that outrageous. I mean, I have no clue what it really is. If it's just like, I don't know. I thought it'd be worse.
No, it's the right wing
something.
trying to look for something to bitch about. Like they canceled Dr. Seuss. You remember Cat in the Hat? We
But it
can't
was
have
almost-
that.
Yeah, bookstores.
It's not as good as some of the other ones. I feel like,
Bookstores are
you
actually
find a lot of good humor in some of these, but this one wasn't.
Yeah.
so
Go ahead,
bookstores
Universal.
are actually trying to get around this ban. So they're still trying to put these books out there, but they're displaying them differently. So
The,
I'll look up the picture.
As far as I know, they just said they would no longer publish them. They're not
Yeah.
prevented from being sold. So of course, right wing being a right wing, they jumped up in value on eBay and stuff. Now, whether or not those actually sold or not is anyone's guess. But there's been a couple auctions where they've been a couple $1,000s for these old books, and I'm just like, y'all stupid.
Was this one of their popular books? His popular books?
No, it's 6
they're-
books
they're
most
like-
people haven't even heard of.
Well,
They're
that's
all
probably
bottom
what it
tier.
is.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably why everyone's so like outraged. They're like, "What, Dr. Seuss?" And then like there might be like one book where if you look at it, you're like, "Oh man," like
Yeah.
a yellow guy, Chinese yellow man called the Chinaman. I mean, it's kind of hard to get around that one. So I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, they're probably all thinking of the things that they grew up on or read to their kids, and then when they hear
No,
it's
it's-
racist, they're like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" And
Yeah,
meanwhile,
it's
like,
a very easy,
No,
low
this
hanging
one's pretty
fruit,
bad.
ignorant, throw an apple at the crowd kind of thing. So
the potato head
it's-
one's funnier.
yeah, that one's stupid too, though. Like they're just calling it potato head because they're adding a no gender potato.
just love-
They're not even getting rid of.
It's just none of it matters so much.
It
It's the
doesn't.
potato head doll.
The funniest thing is like it was a press release that apparently was misinterpreted, but
Yeah.
the way that it all kind of that sequence, I mean, this isn't even like being all that suspicious, but like if you were working in what is it, Mattel or like what is he who makes Potato
Hasbro,
Head?
I think. Is,
Hasbro, okay,
is-
yeah.
is potato.
So like if you're at Hasbro, you're like, yo, like we got to do something to juice sales. Like this is the kind of cynical shit that like I absolutely would do if I worked in a company like that. It's just like,
Yeah.
I mean, because it's like all you have to do is just like do this kind of really non-assuming press release. It's easy to misinterpret. send it out like as though you're this like outraged insider in the company. And they're like, you see what Hasbro, you see what our management's making us do. They're all woke. They're all this. We're gonna send it to Ben Shapiro. We're gonna send it to everybody and like try and gin it up. I mean, it's like free marketing. And then at the end, it wasn't even by the end of the day. They're like, oh, like you guys kind of read that wrong. It's just a little bit of it's just rebranding. We still have Mr. and Mrs. Potato Head. Nothing's changed, kind of a thing. It's just,
and they're flying off the shelves.
And they're flying off the shelves.
Ridiculous.
Like it's like clockwork now. Like the marketing guys must have figured this out by now.
It's like automated. There's some AI program just doing it.
Yeah.
It's like Potato Head, genderless, and then it's like 3 weeks later, sales are up.
Yeah. Just get an algorithm figure out the outrage by now. In fact, if these guys were smart, like exactly. If you had like a Crowder and Shapiro and all these other guys, like they should get together and like reach out to companies like, hey, like we would love to outrage promote some of your products. Like, here's our price.
Who says they don't?
Well, Crowder has a contract with Prager, so he has to ask them first.
Well, right, okay,
yes.
So Dennis has to sign off on it, but but I think that you could really work that out and just figure out products to get outraged about and just like nonsensical shit to just gin up. So
I want to get back.
I'm sorry. I have to throw this out here. Speedy Gonzalez, he's not getting canceled, and
that's
really
gonna be an easy one.
Yeah. Well, the problem is like he is not the problem. The problem is
he did.
No, he's still fine. It's the problem is his cousin Slowpoke Gonzalez. So
Rodriguez,
Slowpoke Rodriguez, whatever.
Yeah.
Whichever. But the Slowpoke, because like okay, like it's kind of implied like he's this lazy drunk. And I'm like, I get it. That's kind of like that's for a cartoon character, for all that, it's kind of a shitty thing. But the reason is that he's the opposite of Speedy Gonzalez, who's very energetic. He's go. He could build a
house in a day, maybe.
He's do some roofing. Yeah, so he's very hard worker. And okay, you see where I'm going with this. So like, it's only bad because of the other guy. It's not Speedy's problem. It's Slowpoke's problem.
I don't know. The entire premise is being so fast you can't get caught. So
the thing is, it could be
so is the Roadrunner. So is the Roadrunner.
It could be not negative at all, but someone just has to say it is, and then they'll be like, "But the history of saying this to those people," and they'll be like, "Oh, there is a history. I didn't realize," and then they just change their mind like there. So
this may be just a Southern California thing, but like I've yet to meet anyone Hispanic that doesn't love Speedy Gonzalez. Like there may be out there. It could be out there, but like.
Sure.
They also don't say Latinx as well, and
that's true.
Yeah.
Well, that comes from the diaspora in academia. So
it goes from like the whitest of the white people talking about how much white people are.
Partly, yeah.
It's tough with a gendered language to try to degender it. Like it's such an insurmountable problem. Like people, it really is like a middle-aged like white academic thing.
Gender is really. It's just something.
Right.
It's like a cultural thing that it's just like it's there.
We have a comment. We have a comment that's kind of dovetails this from Maybe It's Me on YouTube. Look at Scum Mullet. I believe Morgan and his management planned the N-bomb drop. He had a quick apology and he got out of his 360 deal with the label and has the best-selling album so far this year. So I don't know the particulars of this. Maybe It's Me, if you're still around and watching actively, if you could drop some more information about that. But I could see record companies doing something similar. If you issue a well-written, well-received apology, you're going to end up getting more sales from that as well. So I could see that.
This is a very old principle, which we used to say, no publicity is bad publicity.
Yes.
Or all publicity is good publicity, depending on how you want to say it. But that's all. Like people understand this, and there has to be people trying to game this, and that gets back to like a Kardashian sex tape. Like you do certain things for notoriety, and you calculate that the bad impact will be way, mitigated by the good that the publicity will do you in the first place.
That sex tape changed beauty standards for like decades.
It's crazy. Still today.
Yeah.
And if you want to read an interesting book about that, all that 6 Degrees of Paris Hilton covers the whole thing. And it is a fantastic journal
really
expose.
title.
It is great book.
That really
I highly
is.
recommend
6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon and shit. I always say 6 Degrees of Kurt Cobain, but it's a really good way to like talk about shit.
It's
amazing.
it follows this person that was an ancillary character to their whole crew, and was supposedly the person that stole the sex tape and released it for them as a kind of publicity coup
Ray
kind of
J.
thing. So
Yeah.
it's pretty good. It's pretty good.
That's
Ray
great.
J's like, all right, yeah, just here it is. He gave it to the person.
Yep.
Please release it. Let everyone know.
Tell the world.
I kind of want to get back on some newsy topics.
Yeah.
Have everybody on the panel heard about what's going on with the Nevada Democrats?
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
So
They dissolved the party.
kind of.
Yeah, no, they wrote the official letter. It's
Oh.
dissolved, defunded it. Money's been transferred. Everybody's been released. The whole thing has been transferred over.
Oh yeah.
Completely.
So
Yeah, I'm ignorant of so
I just
much shit
misunderstood.
now. I haven't
Say again,
followed
Mateo?
I don't know any of this. I have no clue what's going on.
Oh, yeah. Universal. Can you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The
ahead and put your
Nevada
thoughts in.
State Democratic Party has been dissolved and all of its holdings transferred to what they're calling now the Team Nevada. So it
Can
was
you also
dissolved
drop a link?
in a I don't have it available.
I'll look it up.
But you can
Oh, we'll get it.
it's Judith Whitmer was the state chair. And so they have what they're calling the Democratic Read Machine going on in Nevada. So yeah, she wrote the official announcement letter, whatever, and it's immediately transferred all of its holdings and monies over to the party that's going to now represent it. So,
So what does that mean? Like,
well, what
Go
that
ahead.
means, what does that mean? This team, Nevada, that's going to be taking over, replacing the Nevada State Democratic Party, basically, is already expected to be taking over voter registration, voter contact, and laundering money. And this is from Nevada news journalists. They're flat out accusing that. Literally, it's. I mean, they might as well say the mafia just took over your state.
Right.
Okay.
Literally,
So-
they're not even pulling any punches.
I'm not following. What happened? The
Okay,
party
so-
itself dissolved
So
itself?
here's
Dissolved itself.
what the information that I have. So I haven't heard about the dissolve the party thing.
Yeah.
What I have, to my knowledge, and I'm not saying Universal Discourse is wrong here because this is a developing story.
Did
So
they
to my
quit?
knowledge, yes.
quit?
So to my
Quit?
knowledge, here's what happened. So essentially, long story short, a slew of Bernie supporter / DSA type candidates basically won the intra-party elections for every single major seat within the Nevada local Democratic Party. Rather than work with the now local Democratic Party, the Reed Guard, or not Reed, I'm sorry, the
State party.
the state party, rather than wait, was there? It was right. I get my names
Judith
mixed
Whitmer?
all the time. Yeah, so no, the Reed Guard, which is what I'm calling them. But basically,
Right.
the Harry Reid created a political machine in order to try to turn Nevada blue, and it worked. But with that working, insurgent progressive candidates were also becoming more and more popular, and so they actually took over the party apparatus. Rather than working with the DSA people, they all quit and transferred roughly $450,000 from the local party's treasure war chest
Treasury.
to the DSCC or DCCC rather, in order to prop up one of the people that's in a seat that is very close. And it is a shit show. Not only is it a shit show because of the money being transferred over, which isn't entirely out of the realms of what usually happens, but it was very shady and fucked up. But also because they all quit and taken the knowledge with them, and they had claimed that the new cohort was going to fire them all anyways, but that wasn't their intention according to the new cohort. So it sounds very salty, very like we lost, I'm taking my ball going home, whatever we control. And it might cause a permanent rift within the local Democratic Party and cause people to lose.
Which evidently seems to be the goal. And then you have
might be
the problem with McDonald, and in the wake of McDonald's, as they say, he's ethically challenged, was lobbying for a culinary union. You have, yeah, you got casinos and politics going on in Nevada, so it doesn't look like anything else happening right now. It doesn't resemble what happens in other states at all.
Yeah, they definitely hit that tipping point pretty fast.
Yeah.
Is this
It's alarming, to say the least.
In Nevada? I feel like now they just get to fill in a bunch of seats, right?
Yeah,
so that's basically it. Like, it's really the problem here is just the totality, kind of the abruptness that, you know, there was, rather than a gradual takeover, these DSA folks basically just won like the whole like slate. Like they just basically wiped, you know, clean. So faced with that prospect,
several hundred votes too.
But I mean,
which is a lot in party politics.
Yeah, no, I mean, it was a sweep. So you basically had the old guard establishment. It was just like, oh, well, if that's how it is, we're out. And, you know, tried to petulantly just, you know, take the money, take everything that wasn't nailed down and just leave them a husk. So now they're starting from, yeah. But the thing is the reason that they were able to basically turn the state blue and build the machine that Reed had was off the backs of these, you know, labor elements that really weren't getting taken care of. So, I mean, in a sense, the management's gone, but the forces that propelled them into power, you know, are still there and in fact are dominant. So I don't think that this is, you know, it's a bad look. It's a
shock or something. But I feel like overall this is good for them.
But overall, this is actually this is great. You rather than have to root out these, you know, entrenched elements, they just rooted themselves out and left. Honestly, that's a better end of the story. It sucks right now, but it's going to let them rebuild from scratch. You know what they need.
It's just a statement. Now they're fucked.
Yeah, but like you don't have these guys in the way who are burrowed into the system that you have to like negotiate with. Like, yeah. So that's all. I get why people are saying it's bad, but like in the long run, this is a way better outcome.
I think the transferring of money is the shadiest part of this. I don't really care that they quit. People do this all the time. Like,
I feel like
for any book.
450 is one lucky night at the tables.
That's true. But now they're starting with $0 within their coffers. So it's shady. It's shitty. And
is it really theirs to just do like that though?
That's the thing. I don't think it is.
I think there'll be lawsuits where at least there'll be a settlement where I mean, say what you will about settlements, but I mean, I think they'll get their money back. That doesn't sound like a party could just do that. Like, oh yeah, we're just getting rid of the money. Like,
it was done. It was done before the transfer of power was fully completed.
But I mean, there's something like.
No, I'm saying that's what makes it shadier, right?
Yeah, I feel like a court will look at that and be like, this doesn't really seem like legitimate political use, guys. It looks like the timing's a little off.
For sure.
Looks like spite. I don't think that's. I don't know. I might be wrong. I don't know enough
you're
about
good.
these laws.
No, I think you're 100% right, Mateo.
Yeah,
I think
it sounds like these types of things have been probably tried before, and I'm sure they've been litigated. There's going to be some case law they just read to figure this one out.
Now, one of the interesting things that I've seen, for anybody who doesn't know, our group originally started on Facebook. So go ahead and join our Facebook community, please. If you're a Facebook user, at groups/Tribune Commons. On Facebook. However, one of the things I seen on Facebook and other social media was this, which I'm adding to stream now, which is from Cara Wants a 90-Day Fiance, Cara Hall. She is one of the leaders of the new Democratic Party in Nevada. And she thought this was a good idea. If you can't really see this, let me go ahead and try to get it on full screen. Let's see if I can zoom in a bit. Let me see. I can zoom in a bit. So that's about as big as I can make it. Let me go ahead and get back to everybody on screen.
That's some quality graphic design right there.
It really is. It's very good. But is this really the message you want to be sending out after winning? Is this, and of course this was quickly deleted, right? So this, this image.
It seems like it was just January where I was hearing about this type of talk being the worst thing, and again, my institution.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like now it's like these people. Then again, it's the or whatever. It's the Democratic Socialists.
Yeah.
Well, but that woman is part of the cohort that now controls the local Democratic Party in Nevada.
Oh, I don't doubt it at all. When you say Democratic Socialists, that's it's like saying libertarians. You know the type of people that generally populate.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I mean, that doesn't surprise me, but I just wouldn't be surprised if those people earlier were talking about this is the type of language that leads to violence, and I just never would have thought this would have been in my lifetime, and now it's just, hey guys, check out this guillotine I made, my political poster. That doesn't come loaded with any meaning.
Yeah.
So do the Democratic old guard operatives that quit, do they have a point or not? Or is this kind of just tongue in cheek?
Their point was I'm allowed to quit, and yeah, that's a good point.
Yes, so
you're gone.
I guess we know why they're trying to skip town.
Viva la revolution!
I saw that. They're like, oh shit, yeah, it was under duress.
Ding, got it. We're out. Right. Yeah.
So yeah, I just thought that it was important to throw that out there. A little bit of revolution humor, a little bit of talk. What other topics do y'all want to cover? We are at an hour and a minute of streaming. I want to get everybody their say. Universal Discourse, are you needing to leave soon?
You didn't. No. Okay. You didn't talk about the.
I know I gave a list of stuff.
Proposal to restrict the GOP effort to restrict voting, which is horribly concerning, very alarming,
very important topic.
In fact,
go ahead.
Yeah, that's wow. I mean, this isn't fascism; this is nationalism. What they're proposing. It looks like you have a nationalist party starting to form.
I would agree with that.
That has been there since the KKK became the Republican Party after Civil Rights Act.
So I would throw this out here. And if you go back to the original Constitution, the very, very original implementation, where you had a structure where only basically, landed gentlemen, like, in our parlance, we'd say, you're, straight white Christian, males who own property, like actual real estate owning, like that's who the country was set up for as far as who should vote. Now, over time, that's expanded more and more and more. So you've had this kind of bubble that has moved off of this original intent of, who the founders considered people that cared about the future of the country because they had a investment in it, like in the literal sense, like they were invested in what would happen next for the country, not just for themselves, but with any investment, it's a long-term prospect. So, that was, the original logic of restricting it to the people that would best tend to it long-term. So there's never been this sense that we could reach back to of like, well, the original intent of the founders was that everyone would vote. No, not even a little bit. That wasn't, they would absolutely reject that. That was never anything that we can really look back on. So unfortunately, we're stuck now in this contemporary sense where we feel like, well, yeah, everybody should vote. That's a thing. But we don't actually have that in terms of like a legal or political or any kind of history to go back to and say that's how it was intended, and the Republicans are trying to warp it. They're actually just trying to control voting as voting was traditionally controlled to make sure that certain elements didn't vote and that people who they thought should vote did vote. And that's a structural problem that we've always had, and it's just been this fight where you have this intent, what we pretend is an originalist intent, but it's really not. It's actually a very radical intent that everyone should vote, and that idea, in an egalitarian sense, makes sense to us. It's just unfortunate that it doesn't actually jive with what the country was built on, and we we struggle with people that want to keep it the way that it was, where certain elements did not vote, certain people, certain backgrounds, certain whatever, like that. It's just kind of the country that we were, and
Okay, so these are Jim Crow laws for white people, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Restrictions in casting votes, especially mail-ins, because Democrats used it to succeed. They want to tweak the Electoral College and judicial election rules to favor them so that they make sure their party always wins. They will restrict citizen-led ballot initiatives. This is what the hippies did that pissed everyone off, and the civil rights actors pissed everyone off. They will outlaw private donations. They might cut their nose off to spite their face because the Dems did it. They want to amplify their gerrymandering. They basically want to put Jim Crow voting restrictions on white people is basically what they're doing. So the same people that became the Republican Party, this is their tradition of restricting voices. Only now they call themselves Republicans. They claim that it's the poor states, of course, which are hardcore red, don't have enough voting representation. So how they're going to manage to gerrymander that is anybody's guess. And, constitution aside, once voting rights are given, they're given, and how any of this is tolerated, allowed, permitted. Where's the unrestricted voting right oversight committee? I mean, who manages all this? The only way you could do it with the smaller states is to combine them into one territory, make an exception for them. And they want the National Republican Party is pushing this, which is, you have nationalists, which used to be KKK. There's no mystery about that.
What I'm hearing from both Art and Universal Discourse, as far as a fix is concerned for this, I think we probably need a constitutional amendment that actually takes away the state's ability to restrict voting in certain formats. The Civil Rights Act and the Voting Rights Act did some of this work, but the Supreme Court basically, it was, 2010 or between 2010 and 2012, I don't remember the exact year, but they basically gutted it. They said, we're not the same racist country we were back in 1970, ergo we don't need the oversight. The
oversight was based on a map from 1970. You had places in like Brooklyn that were like, I'm pretty sure that's the race issue's not in there anymore.
No, that's a fair thing, but they didn't say go
black people anymore over there.
No, that's a very fair point, Mateo. But they didn't go like, oh, update your maps or update the thing. They're like, we don't need this anymore.
They said, you want this to be legal, make it legal. But as it is now, it's discriminatory in certain states.
So,
and everyone's like, it gutted the fucking thing. It's all over now.
So it's the court said to update it, making the current law basically null and void. And now because of how Congress,
if it's such a good law and it protects
because of now,
make it nationwide.
Yes, I agree with you.
Want to get Nevada or whatever the most racist state is.
I'm trying to be clear. So I agree with you. So to clarify, the courts basically nullified the current maps that did it and kicked it back to Congress and told them to redo it. The current law basically being null and void. Not entirely, but the big parts of it that actually gave the enforcement mechanism teeth. And Congress, being Congress that we have, where you can't get anything passed if you don't have 60 votes, basically has not gone through and fixed it the way the Supreme Court has basically dictated for Congress to fix it. And the Supreme Court has since ruled in other instances where some of these things might be pertinent, but on the state level, saying that they couldn't have these kind of things in there. So it's a kind of a two-issue thing there. So I get your point, Mateo. I agree with you. Well, it is if you don't have the enforcement mechanism. It is if you don't have the enforcement mechanism.
It's just it's because once you say that the institutions that be are coming after the black people again, who's going to question that? Only certain people are going to question that. And
I mean, but that's exactly what happened, though. The states went through and they're like, "Oh, this law is no longer pertinent. Let's go and put all these laws that we have
that's
that."
going to happen.
But they did it specifically to target black people in some of these instances.
Minorities, poor people, black people.
I wanted to say
sure
it was
we just made a whole list of them
Georgia?
targeting Democrats. Black people are coincidental, and
No,
you can maximize them and be like, they're going after
Well,
these black
that's
people.
why.
Just like
that's
Biden,
why-
they're going to be so nice to Biden now that he's white, guys.
But that's why I said this is Jim Crow laws for white people.
Yeah, well, you had to make the connection to Jim Crow somehow.
No, I'm going to say that no, this is targeting specifically black people in at least some of these instances, because the laws that they did, they went through and they're like, give us voting patterns based on race, and then went through and systematically chose instances of things that they thought would be able to pass the Supreme Court's muster law, be able to pass court's rulings in ways that would target specifically black people, but not target black people. For example, this is a recent one. So they went through and they looked at who votes which way, when do they vote, right? They found out that black people tend to vote on Sundays because after church puts a lot of poor churches put together vans and transportation
I'm aware
to
of
vote.
that, yeah.
So, but this was specifically done to target black people. And then there was another one. There was one where
because they vote Republican. I'm
I
pretty
don't-
sure
okay,
in the grand
so I
scheme,
don't-
the common denominator is Democrats, not
to
black
me,
people.
it doesn't-
But when it is
yeah, to
Democrats,
me, it
you guys
doesn't
are gonna
matter.
Put a magnifying glass right over it.
To me, it doesn't
"I told
matter,
you
though.
guys. Here it is.
That's
Oh,
what this is
that
against Democrats.
That could be the case,
Think
but
about it.
we're
Democrats
talking
are
about
more
the South.
Naturally,
We're talking
anything
about the South.
you do to
though.
target Democrats is gonna
What?
target brown people disparately.
So okay, so their
Disparately.
their intent isn't racist. The outcome is still is.
I'm sure
So
some
who
of them
gives a
have
shit?
racist intent, but you got to prove that. You can't just be like, oh, look at all these brown people in this southern.
I don't
state.
care about the intent though.
Open
That
and
was
shut
my
case.
point. Like the outcome is racist. So the intent to me doesn't matter if the outcome's still racist. You could be the most racist person in the on the face of the planet,
So
but
if you vote against
your
Democrats, you're
outcome
naturally just racist. Then
no. If
Why?
you
The outcome is
pass a
racist.
law
That's
that
more
specifically
brown
targets
people than
black
the other
people in
party.
order to suppress their vote, you're being racist.
okay,
I don't care why. You're trying to stop black people from voting. That's a racist outcome. You're being racist.
the common denominator is Democrat, though,
But
right?
that
do
that
think-
doesn't really
okay.
matter. To me, it doesn't really matter.
Oh, this
because
is an
the outcome's
interesting
still racist.
debate. If you'd
I
like,
have a
will
feeling. So if
post
these people were
this.
white, there'd be no problem with what they're doing. It's just because they're black. You're like, whoops, there it is. Like,
No, I don't. I would have a problem with it in general because I want to have universal enfranchisement, and I would like to see a whole slew of things
if
be
they weren't
passed.
black, I think it'd just be a
Suffrage.
continuation of the common denominator. You guys have been listening. You guys went through a total list of things, and it was almost all just Democrat. And
Yeah.
then once it gets to these black people groups who vote Democrat, you guys are like, aha, I got it. Like, I think
Well, I don't understand your-
theme. You were seeing a common thread, and you guys just snip it off when it's like convenient to
No,
say
no,
racism.
no.
Wait,
I think
Which
I
think
think
you
we're
guys-
you're
slightly
Are you talking about-
racist in the Republican
Are you
Party.
talking about who's you guys?
talking about me and lefties.
You and Universal Discourse.
Oh,
you
you
were also
and-
calling it Jim Crow. That
Oh
wasn't-
no,
you know, that
these
wasn't
are
just
the actual Jim Crow laws that have been borrowed, and now they're for white people because it obstructs
What?
the Democratic Party.
That almost makes it sound. I don't know. I mean,
So
I thought you were harking back to Jim Crow trying to say something.
no, Jim Crow had to do the restrictions on voting rights, which at that time were obviously against black people, all minorities of color. And I straight up said, this is basically right out of the playbook. This is Jim Crow for white people. And it's basically to stop the Democratic Party.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's pretty
That's
much
exactly how it reads.
Okay, yeah. So I misunderstood.
It's going to have racial consequences, obviously, but this is literally from the playbook of the southern states in restricting voting rights under Jim Crow laws. These are the exact laws that were implemented then, except the words black and white are left out. It says Dems. We're doing this because the Dems used this effectively last time, so this is going to stop.
Hey,
And the
so
court has said that that's okay, and that's a problem to me. And not because it's a particular party, but because you're stopping people from voting based on how they vote or who they are. So, Art, you're frozen. So, are you
Yeah.
back?
am I still frozen?
You're
Nope.
you're not frozen anymore, but you're lagging a little bit. So just,
Am I?
Good.
I feel
now.
like
All
I'm
right.
smooth.
All
Yeah,
right, cool.
it looks okay to me.
You're good now.
Yeah. Okay, so I think we should just kind of roll on and oppress somebody else. Are you familiar with the trending the super straight movement?
Yes, that's a
I
good.
heard.
That's a
I
good
saw
one
a
to talk
link
about.
about that, but I thought it was a joke. What is that?
It is
Okay,
a joke.
well, I mean, it technically is a joke, and that it's a 4chan thing. But basically, the idea is that these guys came out on TikTok and promoted this new sexuality, where a person is sexually attracted only to opposite or members of the opposite sex, as not in terms of gender, but in
Exclusively.
terms of the exclusive, their biological sex, not in terms of their gender. So, as a way to exclude for instance, a trans woman, you could be attracted to females because they're biologically female, but not women. So you're not attracted to women; you're attracted to biological females. And if you don't accept that, you're a bigot. Because that's their
out.
sexuality. So they're LGBT because they're not, your traditional formulation as far as straight, because they're super straight, which is a different category, because just due to their own, it's just how they identify. So you're a bigot if you don't accept them as only seeing this other element as sexually desirable or whatever. But this is basically, like you said, it's a joke. It's designed as a troll, but they're playing it straight to try to cause
because it logically follows. I mean, if these people because
right,
gender
because
is relative. If you want to say gender is relative, you're gonna have to accept some pretty absurd things, and this is one of the least absurd, one of the lesser absurd ones that I've heard.
It's a good troll.
It's a good troll. It could, because it was designed to exploit
it makes more sense as a troll, absolutely.
Yeah, but it's literally designed to utilize the rules of this type
meeting
of
them on their own terms. Yeah,
that's all. So, but it's a tongue-in-cheek thing, but it's also.
I mean, because the thing is, when I say like I'm not attracted to transsexuals who are have gone gender reassignment surgery and have now have a vagina.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people would call me a bigot for that. So if we're gonna play that game, super straight, yeah, I'm gonna call myself super straight, and I'll be like, oh, blah 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 blah, like, because it's so absurd.
You can do that, but I don't recommend it.
Honestly, I'm just talking about when I'm dealing with these complete idiots. I'm not talking about when I'm in like casual conversation with normal people. That'll never even come up, except like this, as joking about it.
Right. To be clear, that's not necessarily your actual position. You're talking about the conversation.
Well, no, I mean, yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
I'm just saying.
I'm just, for people to viewing this, that's
as what would be traditionally like heterosexual. A lot of people would try to make that into some sort of negative, and then this was just, it naturally gave way to this probably, which is, it's definitely a joke. It's basically like when I say, I'm not white, I'm Mediterranean, it's just like, it's absurd.
Well, and this is part of like it's this like right-wing scare tactic of like, if you don't date the bearded lady, then you're gonna get fired from your job and canceled, kind of a thing. Like it's this element that they're trying to fearmonger by creating these conditions that's not the point. Like the point is, acceptance under, the terms that people want to be identified under, not that, everyone's forced to date everybody. Like nobody's gonna. It's playing off of this kind of scare tactic feel by utilizing the rules and logic of the left, and it's a good troll. Like you got to give them credit for it. Like it's well thought out, it's well executed, well played.
Yeah, no, I got a kick out of it. That's pretty good. I only saw the link about it. I never actually knew what it meant.
Universal, I'd like your opinion on this as well, if you're willing to give any opinion.
I just saw it today for the first time. Was a moderator going, do I have to start calling myself super straight now? I don't get this. What is this? I just now saw it today, and I went, oh, please. It looks to me like the whole thing is from you basically sort of, you want equality and tolerance, right? And the social movement or initiative or approach is literally to bully people. And talk them out of who they are and what they want. It's hypocritical as fuck. It's damaging. It's funny up to a point.
Yeah.
Somebody needs to sort this shit out quickly, because it's time that people put that bully stick down and sort it out. And if they want acceptance and tolerance, practice it. You can't bully people into believing what you believe. You can't do it.
I mean, yeah,
but
you
that's
could-
what's being done. That's
pressure.
that's
There's
all I
some
can
peer
see at the
pressure,
time.
which is
I'll
fair.
wait.
Peer pressure, which isn't.
Mateo, could you
More than
repeat
peer
yourself since you
pressure.
guys were talking?
Sorry.
Oh,
simultaneously?
sorry. I was trying to just pick a good time to break in.
Yeah.
Well, no, there's pressure that's good, and there's pressure that's obviously like over the line. I don't know. I had a better point, or it felt better, but
No, I just
let's-
no. I think you made your point pretty well. Like
whatever.
what you're basically saying is that sometimes pressure is good. So sometimes
there's moral entrepreneurship.
Waving the stick.
Yeah, that's for better or for worse. Because actually,
Yeah,
there are
for
a
sure.
lot of things that clearly we look back on, and we say it's pretty good that we changed our ways.
Yeah.
Even if it's easier to say it in hindsight than when it's happening, it's just objectively true. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, there's a lot of things that are good. So, I mean, it's just some of the pressure is so stupid. Like, when it comes to this gender stuff, like, I don't know, because a lot of it gets so funny. It's just, it's really relative stuff, and a lot of people are turning it into something it isn't, and it's just creating now like this almost like meta response to it. Like, that's really what the joke is. It's so meta. I think that's what I like about it. It's like, oh yeah, okay, fine. Well, I'm super straight. Because guaranteed,
Or
you
super
come
gay.
across people online, super gay, yeah, whatever. Yeah, that would make sense actually.
No, they did that too.
Oh, okay. I
because
mean, it logically
that-
follows,
yeah.
so it makes sense.
It's a way to like exclude attractiveness or attraction from trans
It's a way,
people.
no, because I bet you this was born. I mean, obviously, this was born of the internet, but we've come across some of these people before. Like,
Oh no, of course.
yeah, they'll be like, if you say I'm not attracted to trans women, they're like, you piece of shit. Like, I mean, Crystal V. Edison or whatever, whoever
I have
from
no
like
idea who that is.
OPMP, you have to know it. She's one of them, and I haven't seen her in a while. She might be gone now, but she used to
She's
say,
a
like,
she's a pit admin.
and,
I mean,
Okay. So we shouldn't say these names out loud.
Yeah.
then.
yeah. No,
Go
I
ahead.
remember getting some real acid from her just I'm not attracted to that. It's like it may even have been trolling now that I look back at it because it's just so stupid. But she's consistent with it to the point where I'm probably sure. I just need an example. She's the only one I could draw.
I got you. No, I didn't realize it was
There's
somebody
millions
that
of them out there.
we knew.
I thought we all
I
did.
thought
I
it
just
was
felt like that was
somebody.
a really easy. I mean, I'm gonna have to find someone else now.
No.
Lena Dunham.
Okay, let me clarify.
Lena
I
Dunham, actually,
didn't.
that works.
The name didn't register with me because I was thinking some like famous Twitter account user, not
the
somebody
thing
that's
is,
in our
yeah.
social circle.
The point is that some people come up with some really absurd things just because like they're doing it. They don't mean to be absurd. Like they're really just trying to learn how to like be progressive, I guess. So they're experimenting with these ideas about gender. So it's like, oh, this guy says he's not attracted to them. It's like, but that's just a woman. How could you not be attracted to a woman? And when you really break it down and literally it's not like by any traditional sexual standard. If you want to talk about gender, that's another thing. Gender, you could be fluid in gender. That's different. So these people tried to turn them into something bigoted, and this is basically, like I said earlier,
Well,
this is meeting them on their own terms in a way to neutralize that, because that's just bullshit anyway. So you might as well neutralize it with something hilarious.
It depends on the reason. So I was actually having this debate recently, and the person I was debating
Because surgery doesn't change anything.
No. Let me
I mean, it
clarify.
physically
So,
changes things.
let me clarify though. So I was having this debate with somebody, and I'm not going to name names here, but if they watch, they know who I'm talking about. And my point was that it could either be bigotry or it could not be bigotry.
Yeah, it
If
could definitely
one
be
of-
bigotry.
one
There's
of-
bigotry in there. It's easy. If you're going to fight
Yes.
bigotry, that's the place you want.
Exactly. And so
I don't want to downplay it too much.
And so when I made this point, I'm like, look, that's something that individuals going to have to suss out for themselves. You're going to have to examine why, when you found out if you were initially attracted to a trans person and then you found out they're trans, then you lost the attraction. That's a time where you come to be like, okay, why did I lose that attraction? Like this is
You're
asking
under
people
false pretenses, man. It's pretty obvious. Like, don't even. What are you saying?
No,
Maybe I'm attracted to my computer screen because I just realized all the porn I beat off to is just block of plastic. It's like, come on, man. I'm
God
pretty
damn it.
sure
That
No,
monitor
I'm
is
pretty
thick.
sure I'm telling my monkey brain to go. Yeah,
no, but my
single
point is that there can be bigotry in there,
I
and
was
it
gonna
might
make
not
the rabbit-
necessarily be the whole false pretense thing, or what have you. And on the individual level, that's something an individual is going to have to examine for themselves, and they probably should examine for themselves. Now, does that mean someone like me should be like, you're a fucking bigot because you said that? No, I don't think that's the right approach. I think the approach that I took is like, hey, examine it. If you're like, ew, that's gay or whatever, if you're like going down that road, maybe you should re-examine what you're doing. But if it's things that like, maybe I want to have kids that someday, well, that's perfectly valid, right? That's not a bigotry thing to say, because you might be, or I want biological kids someday is what I should say. Maybe with the woman they marry or the man they marry.
What's that Eminem video where he's like dressed as a girl, like bent over, he's got a wig on and everything, he turns around, it's him with a beard, like it's like it's kind of like that, like.
Well, that's my point. Like it could be
the realm of sex. Do it with like just age. What if it's like, you know, it looks like a really someone your age and you're a young person turns around, it's like, you know, the Crypt Keeper. All of a sudden, you know,
no, like I said,
the popular one these days, but give it 10 years, I'm sure that'll be the new you're a bigot.
Like I said, cool. It could go either way, and someone pointing that out.
Bring it on. I'm ready for the ages of like.
I mean, somebody who points that out, I don't think that person that's pointing out that that's a possibility should get lambasted and being called ridiculous either, because I think that's a pretty common thing where people are like, well,
I mean, it's you
whatever.
Just have to really fundamentally understand what it like. Culture is culture. It's pretty like neutral most of the time. I mean, obviously there's some bad things, even if it's the traditional dominant culture. Like that's the thing people don't get. I make a lot of jokes about punching up. People really operate under these like this logic that if you're punching up, it's, you know, you're doing no wrong. And that's pretty much what these people are doing by going after like traditional beauty standards, like we'll call it. Like to them, it's just a traditional standard. It has nothing to do with sex and everything. It's like you were born to like women, you know, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So I kind of lost my point, but I think you get what I was saying.
Well, I can't wait until we can get that age standard in there, because I can't wait to roll up on some like college, you know, sophomore and be like, oh, you don't want to get with this? I'm sorry to hear that you're such a bigot. I hope your employer doesn't find out.
You guys are going to lose out the happy
that's
bird
disgusting.
Special, it goes both ways.
Stop trying to use manly prowess on unsuspecting, naive little women out there. You disgusting man.
You at the bar, like you just go around next one after that one, like 4 feet away, they can hear you talking.
Right. Exactly, right.
It's like, all right, fine.
Excuse me, missy, could you please? No, shut up.
I'll get your sweet ass back over here.
It's the same pickup line too. They can hear you using it.
You have to whistle when you say that.
Right. I can't quite do the whistle thing, but I was going for that.
I can't do it. That's one accent I can't do. We do have a little bit of breaking news that I think we should cover. It's one of those kind of idiosyncrasy things. Sean Dixon hit me up on Messenger and saying that the judge in the Kyle Rittenhouse murder trial has postponed the trial as both the prosecution and the defense have asked for additional time to build their respective cases. I think that this is one of those situations that
is Lynn Wood still that kid's attorney, because he has everything stacked against him with that dude representing him. I mean, that dude is a joke. Like,
Lynn Wood,
literally.
Yeah.
I mean, not literally.
He's fucked.
He's a clown, man. Like
that kid's fucked. If that's
like
still
seriously,
his
like
lawyer.
those parents, they have to be such yokels too, or the mom has to be such a yokel for Lynn Wood to show up and be like, "I'll represent your son." She's like, "Yes, a real lawyer." You know, like you just got played so bad by a guy who's just going to hopefully, he thinks he's going to run for office someday. That's got to be why he's like this. I mean, the guy's a crazy person, and
he's just a crazy person who happens to be a lawyer.
Yeah. His family thinks he's nuts just from their releases. Like they just think
the family thinks Lynn Wood is nuts too.
Yeah,
they think he's just lost his mind.
Yeah, the guy is just super clowns.
It's like what's his name, Gosar from Arizona. Like all 6 of his siblings have publicly denounced him. But it's like he's lost his mind. He's a horrible person. Like no one should vote for him. It's like that's rough.
I don't know why someone didn't take him out yet.
that's just savage. Your whole family turns on you like that.
Imagine how much of a piece of shit you have to be for not even your mama to take your back.
Right, that's brutal.
I brought a little bit of international news about another sensationalized case, which most people here don't know about. But there was a French schoolgirl.
That's a good case. Yeah, please go ahead.
She had said that, the teacher asked the Muslim students to leave in a free speech class, and then she showed cartoons of Muhammad in a satirical magazine. Le Parisien. And so she admitted that she lied. As a result of the lying, and her father evidently knew she was lying, and as a result, the woman was murdered and beheaded by Abdullah Anzarov as a result of these lies. The girl finally admitted that she lied, and it was known that the father knew that she was lying. So I just brought that in just came in a few hours ago.
The little kid lied about being removed from the classroom.
She lied about, what the teacher asked the Muslim students to leave, and she said she was under peer pressure. And then once her father heard about it, he went on this smear campaign and making accusations against Patti, the teacher. So as a result, the teacher was murdered and beheaded by a radical Islamist.
Yeah, that's a messed up position for
the Prophet Muhammad.
For kids to be in, because I mean the kid could be pressured into or out of saying the truth, like in any number of ways, and it's just that's a super fucked up.
Her father knew she was lying.
Yeah.
And launched on this campaign. And so the question is, are they going to hold this father accountable, and how? But they have announced it officially, so that he's most likely going to be held accountable or have, something against him. Because
France, I feel like, are a lot different than over here. He's probably going to.
Yeah.
Well,
they're probably going to be able to find something for him.
He not only knew she was lying, but in fact, she was not in school that day. She'd been suspended 3 days earlier.
Oh, wait, he was saying they made her watch it?
No, so she was kicked out of the class, asked to leave. That's what she said, because they were going to show Prophet Muhammad.
Oh, I guess,
satire. And she wasn't even in school. She'd already been suspended, so the father knew.
If I was in France, I probably would refrain from doing all that shit. I don't mean to even laugh, actually. I'm being pretty much 75 to 95% serious. Like, your chances of having someone retaliate against you in France is higher than, here.
Yeah.
It seems like or maybe that's just the news I get, actually. To tell you the truth, I don't follow French news a lot. Maybe I just get hit with all these articles when something big happens like this.
Yeah.
But, it seems
it was a class on freedom of speech. And so evidently this cartoon was one of those issues. Is that really free speech, and what's the boundary to free? We have the same in journalism. We have the same content in journalism. And so she not only wasn't there, the father knew she wasn't there, and then launched on this campaign.
It's pretty fucked up.
Which ultimately resulted in this teacher's death.
The thing that I find kind of the most upsetting about this is not necessarily that the girl lied. She was only 13 at the time. So it's pretty common with peer pressure and stuff like this for people to lie, especially if they're being asked to be a spokesman by peers and that sort of thing. It's the adults that are online asking for her head, blaming her for the guy's murder, for the teacher's murder. And I'm like, no, like you can't hold the girl accountable for the actions of an adult that took the man's life. Like,
if these are the kind of people who want to kill someone for watching Muhammad, I'm pretty sure that girl was fearing for her life at one point before she told the truth. I think, like, there's a thing. Actually, I don't want to generalize.
No, but my whole thing is like these people are asking for her to be like charged as like a murderer in France. Yeah, there are people online that are like she should hang. She caused the man to die. Like that's the kind of visceral reaction that I'm seeing from some people online, and I find that to be appalling. Art, what were you going to say?
I mean, I think we can all agree that if someone's to blame for all this, it should be a woman. That's a joke.
Oh God, I know it's a joke.
All right.
I was trying to work in a Burger King time there somehow. I couldn't come up with anything.
Right.
Oh, was the go ahead. Sorry.
So speaking of jokes, but just to kind of move on, because since President Trump no longer has a Twitter feed, he's now relegated to releasing press statements that read like tweets, but with official letterhead. So I don't know if you've seen this on Twitter now, but he's got this new statement out. So I'm just going to read it for you really quick, just so you can. Oh no, this is the wrong one. I'm sorry. Let me pull it up.
You can also put it in the private chat so I can show it to everybody.
Okay, so here we go. This is from the office of Donald J. Trump, March 10th. Statement from Donald J. Trump, 45th President of the United States of America. And I quote, I hope everyone remembers when they're getting the COVID-19, parentheses, often referred to as the China virus vaccine, that if I wasn't president, you wouldn't be getting that beautiful shot for 5 years. At best, and probably wouldn't be getting it at all. I hope everyone remembers. Exclamation point.
Thank you, base Trump.
Thank you, base Trump. Which I think is so funny because it's like you realize that like the rest of the world is making vaccines, right? Like how would we never be getting a vaccine or let you taking 5 years when like they're literally making them everywhere else? Like,
Yeah, you're welcome, America.
yeah,
It was all me.
Don't say I never
so
gave you
classic,
nothing.
though. This is so Trump, and it's so transparent too. That's what makes it like such a good show. Like it's almost to the point, or it is to the point where it's like, how does he not see how stupid he looks?
Because
Well,
he gets
You never would've got it.
adulations from the
Yeah,
crowd.
it wasn't real.
Nobody's allowed to tell him. That's why.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
that's part of the branding. But do we have time to cover him sending the cease and desist letter to the RNC?
Yes. Well, we have
Oh, I
plenty
heard
of time. We should
Okay.
definitely cover
Oh,
that. And
his-
we can wrap it up. after
Another
that
of
if you
his
need to go.
complaints was dismissed as well.
Oh,
Yeah.
true, yes.
The judge went, not today.
Which one was
Absolutely
that?
The latest one.
It was
Okay,
it was the
that's
last
fine.
one.
There's
It
like
was
eight of
the-
them.
The latest
It
one this
it was-
morning.
Yeah, it was his hope that the judge would, overturn the election and say that he was president and not Biden.
No, I think this was
Not that one?
actually the one defamation of character. Something.
Oh, okay.
See, there's so many of them we
There's
can't even
so
keep them
much,
straight.
actually.
Can't even keep them straight, let alone super straight.
Ooh,
Nice.
Anyways,
He's super straight. What are you talking about?
true.
but Art,
He's make
please,
straight great again guy.
Oh God.
That's it, Ms. Guy.
Well, no, he can't do that because he had the gays for Trump, right? With Miley.
Wow.
Well,
wow.
you know how he's so, fickle, can't seem to make
Okay.
up his mind. Yeah, you know how that goes.
Well, that's fair.
The art of the deal.
Art, please regale us with this cease and desist letter.
I was just randomly thinking that Trump does wear a lot of makeup for a straight man. But
It's not makeup. It's suntan lotion.
yeah.
Paint.
Cease and
painful.
desist. Yeah, that he sent to the RNC was basically to the effect of, please, no longer use my likeness in any marketing or fundraising, as it's the registered trademark of Donald J. Trump
The former
Enterprises, whatever,
president.
yada yada. So right, so, and the Republicans are basically like, well, yeah, see, you're like a historical figure and party member and yada yada. We have rights to do all that, and they just completely ignore him. So now Trump is sending out fundraising letters to everyone on their mailing list saying, hey, don't donate to the DNC or to the RNC or the Republicans. Donate directly to Trump PAC. So he's basically trying to get control of the Republican financing, which is, he's always been really kind of jealously guarding of his, likeness and name and image. The brand has always been kind of his main product. So it's in a sense kind of expected, but it's funny because it's a major political party that is dealing with a guy that was defeated and lost them a ton of seats, who still insists on trying to control everything. And it's a weird testament to how weak and disorganized they are that he even is, even halfway able to still have any control or leverage. But as of yet, the main Republican Party is just using his name anyway, and well, yeah, we don't care. We're just going to do it.
He's the
So,
former president. What is he? He's going to call up the Pelican Publishing Company and say, "Don't put that in any textbooks, guys, or I'll sue." And there's
Yeah.
he's a
You're
president.
right. Yeah,
Fuck you.
I find it a little ironic that
It's
they're
public.
they're complaining about free speech and cancel culture, and yet they're trying to fight over a public figure's image and make it to where they can't use it. So
Yeah,
Trying to
apparently-
cancel him,
Yeah, Trump's trying to cancel himself. They got mad because the Seuss estate pulled those books, but they were now Trump's trying to pull himself, and that's okay. So it's just funny.
is this going to end up being a split within the Republican Party, or is this going to be they're going to ignore him and he's still going to Trumpism when he talked about it during CPAC, and still trying to go to bat for some Republican candidates? If it's just going to be kind of split a little bit, but still together.
I think there'll be a split. It'll be bad for Republicans, but it might not be too big of a split too. I mean, to tell you the truth, you shouldn't underestimate the power of partisans and the people who travel with
Yeah.
them to just kind of rally around the new chief. I mean, look what happened with Trump. He was not even like the plurality candidate. Or he was the plurality candidate. He wasn't the majority candidate, even within the Republicans' own primary. So I think people just rally around the next guy whenever that comes. If Trump does create a schism this next cycle, then Democrats win, and we have to wait till there's a new guy.
I don't necessarily think that there's going to be an actual split within the party, where it's like splits in two. But I do think that the kind of division, while what is it, like 80% of Republicans still,
I mean, he lost them
love
all
Trump.
their elections. They got to reckon with that. They got to somehow just come to terms with that.
They do, but their supporters still really love Trump
It's
though?
such
So
ignorance. He cost them
I
all of
don't
those
know.
elections.
I don't know.
It's excellent. It's amazing.
It really is amazing.
I mean, it's really classic Trump again. Like he's just like,
Yeah.
I didn't lose, I won. Like he's like Wimp Lo from Kung Pao, you know? Like now here's my face to foot technique. He's just
I win
losing,
because I bleed
losing.
more.
Yeah, just losing every time, and still it's celebrating.
Oh man. Well,
That's
is
amazing.
there any other final topics y'all want to cover before we call it a night?
No, this was. I'm glad I got to stay for the whole time. A storm just kicked up though, and stuff is flickering and falling apart. So
Oh,
perfect time for me to kind of.
Well,
Dude.
Universal. Sorry. All right. I was going to say Universal Discourse. Go ahead and shout yourself out. Tell our audience a little bit about yourself and everything like that, and then we'll
Okay.
call it a night.
So Universal Discourse was originally a university, a doctoral, postdoc field research training program, which was canceled due to COVID, which is now online. But we do consensus reaching, conflict resolution, real life problem solving. We have an open mic night, we have a gaming night, and we do debate training and topic panels all week. And it's indigenous with indigenous philosophy. And it's all things indigenous and quantum theory pushed into one little stream.
nice.
And Universal Discourse, we are always happy to have you on. So if you want to become a permanent member of this little shindig, you are more than welcome to, as far as I'm concerned. Well, everybody, with that, I am sad to say that we are actually out of time. We know you liked what you heard because you stayed with us to the end. So go ahead and smash that follow button for the algorithms. Go ahead and subscribe to us on YouTube, Twitch, or Facebook. Follow us, all that jazz. And Art, did you want to just say something real quick?
I'm sorry, this is just breaking news.
Uh-oh.
Lawmakers in Mexico approve bill to legalize recreational marijuana, which could make the country the world's largest cannabis market.
Oh shit! And
Oh.
that's good. That's
Well,
very
we'll
good.
have to talk about that on our next episode. Well, everybody,
So America's surrounded now.
America is surrounded by.
Seriously, Canada, Mexico, we're the last of the party.
California,
as far as-
yeah.
Yeah, and I mean we got a few
Yeah,
states,
yeah.
but
The People's
Well,
Republic of
only a matter
California.
of time.
People's Republic of California and the free state of Colorado.
Yes, yes.
Right. Or Nevada.
The walls are closing in on you, America.
Get that weed money. All right, well, everybody.
Almost not
Well,
stepping down.
I am going ahead and signing off of this. So, like always, please keep your head up through the political storm.
Oh, you can hear